Now, after learning the internal and external genital organs, there is something more which is very, very important. So, let us learn about the pelvis, perineum, and the breast. Now, pelvis, when I say pelvic diaphragm. Now, pelvic diaphragm, when I say, it means the pelvic floor, because pelvic floor is a very, very important region which supports, which holds the internal organs, and during childbirth it plays a very, very important role. So let us understand one by one. So when I say pelvic diaphragm or pelvic floor, it separates the pelvis from the perineum, and it is basically divided in three parts: pubococcygeus, iliococcygeus, and ichthyococcygeus. Now this is a lateral view whereby in this picture you can see the pelvic floor. When we say pelvic floor, what does it mean? It basically means the various muscles which made a gutter-shaped cavity, and the main muscles which are responsible are the levator ani muscles. And you can see in this diagram the various muscles, the ligaments, and the other structures which form the pelvic floor. Okay, now the actions of levator ani and coccygeus. Now in the pelvic floor, levator ani muscles play very, very important role. The levator ani, they fix the perineal body and support the pelvic viscera. During coughing, sneezing, lifting, and other muscular effort, the levator ani and the coccygeal muscles counteract or resist the increased intra-abdominal pressure and help to maintain the continuance of the bladder and the rectum, because they are like counteracting on the forces when we are putting extra intra-abdominal pressure. So the coccygeal muscle pulls forward and supports the coccyx after it has been pressed backward during the defecation or during childbirth. Okay, so relationship of levator ani. Now the superior or the pelvic surface is covered with the pelvic fascia, which separates it from the bladder, the prostate, the rectum, and the peritoneum. And the inferior or peritoneal surface is covered with anal fascia and forms the boundary, medial boundary of the istiorectal fossa. The anterior border of the two muscles are separated by a triangular space for the passage of the urethra and the vagina. And the posterior border is free and lies against the anterior margin of the coccygeus. And the muscles have been modified to form the pelvic diaphragm, which supports the viscera. So such support became necessary with the adoption of erect posture by the man. Now what is the clinical anatomy of the pelvic floor? The muscles of the pelvic floor may be injured during the childbirth. When the perineal body is torn and it has not been repaired satisfactorily, the contraction of the anterior fibers of the levator ani increase the normal gap in the pelvic floor instead of decreasing it, and this results in problems or abnormalities which are called as cystocele, rectocele, or prolapse of the uterus. Now let us understand about the perineum. What is the perineum? Perineum is the area below the levator ani, and the boundaries are pubic arch, ischial tuberosities, sacrotuberous ligament, and the coccyx. You can see in the picture also that diamond shape which is given is the perineum. Now this is a picture just to show the perineal triangles. In both the pictures you can see. Now to understand more about the perineum, it is divided into two triangles, urogenital triangle and anal triangle. So perineal body is the central point of perineum. Now to understand the sphincter urethra in the deep pouch, it is also called as external sphincter of the bladder. Now this is again just to make you understand the female pelvis and the perineum. The picture on the right side is the perineum and on the left side is the pelvis. Now let us understand more about the levator ani muscles. They are most important muscle in the pelvic floor. They are the most important and very strong. So they represent a critical component of pelvic organ support. So physiologically normal levator ani muscles maintain a constant state of contraction. They provide a solid floor that supports the weight of abdominopelvic content against intra-abdominal forces. So this is again a diagram which is showing you the pelvic floor, the perineum, everything together in order to understand the correlation of perineum with the pelvis, the supporting structure, the muscles, the ligaments. Now this is a superior view which tells you that you can see that the urethra, the vagina, the levator ani muscles, the ischial spines, the coccyx. Now what is perineum? Let us understand more about the perineum. So perineum is diamond-shaped area bounded deeply by the inferior fascia of the pelvic diaphragm and superficially by the skin. So boundaries of the perineum are the same as that of bony pelvic outlet. The pubic symphysis anteriorly, istiopubic rami and coccyx posteriorly and sacrotuberous ligament posterior laterally. Now an arbitrary line joining the ischial tuberosities divides the perineum into anterior or urogenital triangle and posterior or anal triangle. Now there is some term called as perineal body. Now this perineal body is also called as the obstetrical perineum. This is little different from the other perineum. Now let us understand this. The pyramidal shaped area between the anus and the vagina, where the pelvic floor and the perineal muscles and the fascias meet, is called as the obstetrical perineum. Now why this is called as obstetrical perineum? Because this is the area which is actually functioning in the process of childbirth. Now following muscles meet to form the structure or this structure, that is sphincter ani externus, two levator ani muscles, superficial and deep transverse perineal muscles and bulbocavernous muscle. So let us understand the role of pelvic floor muscles. In females, it supports and gives tone to the vaginal wall. It supports the pelvic organs against gravity. It increases the intra-abdominal pressure, maintains the anorectal angle, relaxation for defecation and contraction, and prevents incontinence, whether urinary or fecal. It allows for the opening of the pelvic floor to accommodate excretory functions and parturition. Reinforce urethral closure during increase of intra-abdominal pressure. Has an inhibitory effect on bladder activity. Assist in uploading the spine. assist in pelvic spinal stability and contribute to sexual arousal and performance. Now let us understand more about the pelvic diaphragm. As you can see in the picture also, that which is the pelvic diaphragm. The abdominal wall, the respiratory and pelvic diaphragms create a functional cylinder. This cylinder is created by the muscles that must contract and become rigid in order to protect the spine and pelvis during any mechanical loading. And as the abdominal muscles, respiratory and pelvic diaphragm contract, the intra-abdominal pressure increases and the entire abdomen becomes rigid. It's able to transmit greater mechanical loads without hurting the spine or the pelvic joints. Now let us see the anatomy of breast. Actually, the breast are considered to be the accessory organ of reproduction. They do not directly get involved, but yes, when the baby is born and during pregnancy, there are a lot of changes taking place in the breast to prepare for lactation. So they are also called as the accessory organ of reproduction. So let us see what is it, or let us understand one by one. Now firstly, let us understand where is the breast located or situated in the body. It lies in the superficial fascia of pectoral muscle region. It is extended vertically from second to sixth rib and horizontally the lateral border of sternum to the maxillary line. Now it lies in the deep fascia and separated from fascia by retromammary space. And the picture you can see what all I have mentioned. It is very clear from the picture. Now this also tells you the situation and extent of breast in the body. This picture also tells you, it shows you that the nipple, it is a areolar complex, then the lactiferous sinuses, the breast duct, the fatty tissue, the breast lobules are there. Now this is just, you can say, the layers of cells which are present, that is the epidermis, the lymphatic, dermis, corpus ligament, breast lobules, duct, lymphatic, deep fascia and pectoris major muscle, and the lymphatics are present in the retromammary spaces. Now in order to understand more about the situation or how the breast is placed in the body, one can divide the breast in 4 quadrants. So that means each breast has got upper inner and lower inner quadrant. Okay, that makes it 2, and upper outer and lower outer quadrant. You can see in the picture, it is very clear. So the nipple areola complex should be mentioned separately while describing the breast examination. Now this is again a picture showing you that how the breast is placed in the body. So the upper lateral quadrant has lateral extension known as the axillary tall of Spence, then deep pectoral fascia known as the foramen of Lanker. Then it has direct communication with the anterior group of axillary lymph nodes. Now this is the cross section of the breast showing the lactiferous ducts, the lactiferous sinuses, the fatty tissues. Now here you see the blood supply to the breast, that which are the blood vessels or veins and arteries supplying to the breast tissues. And in this diagram you can see the different venous structure or veins which are supplying to the breast are like subclavian, internal jugular vein, cephalic vein, lateral thoracic vein, then the lymphatics which supply the breast tissues. So we have learned now about the anatomy of the pelvic floor, the perineum and the breast. And during pregnancy, there are a lot of changes taking place in the pelvic floor and the breast. So this knowledge will help you to relate to this information when you take care of the pregnant ladies. After having the knowledge about the genital tract, the external and internal genitalia, it will help you in the clinical settings when you are with the pregnant mother or the woman in labor, because many a times it becomes difficult to locate the urethra, because during labor the woman may have difficulty to empty the bladder and you might have to put the catheter. So now, after knowing the anatomy, you know that the urethra is located underneath the clitoris. So you look for the clitoris and you can find out the urethra and you can put the catheter very easily into the urethra. Similarly, when you know the normal uterus, how it looks like, what are the measurements, so you can relate your knowledge during pregnancy, what are the changes and whether these changes are expected or not. So this knowledge will help you in the clinical setting while taking care of the pregnant and laboring mothers. Thank you.